Hey,
Hey, everybody.
how's everybody doing? How are you doing, Robert?
I'm doing excellent. Yourself, my friend.
Doing good.
Good.
So, this is our first episode of Husbandry Pro What's Next, where we talk about Husbandry Pro Next, what we've been working on, what we will be working on, and the general status of the company. We also take questions here and welcome feedback. So, we will have a Q&A section. Just save those questions when you got them. Go ahead and throw them out there, and I'll pop them up whenever we get to that part. So, how are you feeling about this, Robert, with our Husbandry Pro Next since we're out now?
I'm feeling pretty good. And how often are we going to do these? Every couple of weeks, 3 weeks?
I'm thinking we're shooting for every 2 weeks right now, as needed. We'll start with every 2 weeks. If they gain rapid popularity and they're needed more often, we might go more often. If we get low participation, we might move it out to once a month.
Yeah. And we're going to start doing some videos and things like that. And we've got a lot of help desk stuff video that we need to get updated into the help files too. So we'll be doing a lot more of that over the next little bit. So basically, Husbandry Pro Next, it's the next step to Husbandry Pro. It's version 2. I think in our journey from, we've been around 6 years now, 7 years, I think we started writing the software. We've gone from the old PHP version, and after a certain amount of time, you find that in technology, there's so much better out there. And version 2 is the next iteration of that, built on React Native. And it was we kind of required it due to the growth, due to the users and things like that, because of the technology that we had. So we've upgraded that. But while we did that, we also found that we needed to upgrade Husbandry Pro Classic, which is what we call it now. So you've got the distinction now of Classic and Next. So now that Classic has been updated to a stronger engine, more secure engine, we are actually able to develop that further still. So initially, when we started working on Next, it was going to be that we were going to move people on to Next. But I think it's turned into something where we're going to keep Next. Classic. We're going to continue to build Classic. We're going to add some small features to it. We're going to make some design changes and choices that were never done in the past that probably should have been done. And we're going to make Classic more powerful too. So if anybody is here going, oh my God, Classic is going away, it's not going anywhere. We have a developer that we've got working on it full time now. And a lot because they both work together still, right? The data is shared, right? When you do something in Classic or Next, it kind of shows back and forth. But really, if you're using Next, there are so many more features in that it's probably best to migrate that way. If you start using Next or start using them both, you should probably move on to Next, because a lot of the features that are built into Next have underlying data that's useful for Next and not necessarily for Classic. So going forward, Next is the main focus of me and the team. It's what we're going to be promoting most, is what we're going to be putting most of our focus into. Just like Classic, and I think people have noticed, is that we bring out software that is, we're 95% there. And it's not we bring out the software because we have to. We bring out the software because, just like with Classic, it wasn't complete when we brought it out. And what happens there is we allow then the community to start giving us feedback and telling us what works, what doesn't work, what makes sense. And really, the only way to tell after, that something's working very well with, you need a lot of people using it. So that's kind of what we did with Next also. We said, hey, okay, so we're 95% there. Let's bring it out. Let's give people the option to use it. And that's how it's happening today, is that we've got a solid foundation now. We are still tweaking, little things here and there, and we're calling it a pre-release. It's still in pre-release form. And every bug, we're also a unique size of a company where basically I would decide most of the design and path forward and things like that. And then the team would, support me in that. We can make changes quickly due to our size. We're not like a lot of other software companies that take weeks to bring out, a change or an update. And that is exactly the same thing with Next. I think if you use Next now, you should probably notice, every couple days, a banner across the top that says we're over the next hour, we're doing updates. And that's really because we've taken, I think there were 13 updates yesterday. So we've taken all those updates and pushed them through one time a day or 2 times a day. So it's always evolving. It's always evolving. And we have a path forward for the next couple of years of some major improvements, and kind of becoming a really big business platform also, if you so choose. Again, there's a free version of it for up to 5 animals, and anything more than that, there are paid tiers, and we're focusing on the breeding tier if you're looking for a tier to get into, because that has a lot of the advanced features and things like that. So that's basically Next. It's Husbandry Pro Classic, built for more animals. It's far more detailed, more complex, and there are way more moving parts in it. And it will be developed faster with more modules. And it's also a modular platform. Actually, I should probably touch on that. It's not like Next where there's Classic, where there's a menu and you can go everywhere. This is more of a workspace type environment. So anytime we want to add a workspace, we can simply bolt it on and then integrate it with everything else. And it makes development very clean for us. So we're not breaking things as we're developing. So that's where
really Next is like your future proof option, like this is going to support the technology for the next decade and stuff. But nobody's having to leave Classic. So right now we're not planning at any point in time in the future to legacy Classic.
No, I don't think it's ever going to be sunsetted at this point, as long as there's users using it, because it lives on the same infrastructure now, right? So they both live on the same infrastructure. One kind of doesn't exist without the other today. In the future, if technology demands that Classic goes somewhere, Next will still be there, because Next is, built on the same thing that Facebook is built on. It's React Native. So,
okay. So we're getting a lot of new stuff in Next, and Next basically kind of came out how Classic did. We're improving, and and there's a lot of improvements that happen in the beginning. But if people are used to Classic and it's already working smooth for them, they can hop over there and keep doing that until it gets all smoothed out. 'Cause I know some people aren't super about like, oh, I don't want the changes, and I want something that's going to stay the same for a little bit, and that's going to be Classic, right? Like we're not reinventing it with any of the changes we're doing to it. We're just kind of smoothing, connecting some things, but it'll still be the feel of Classic that it is now, right?
Right, and that people are used to it. People are used to it. But I think design choices we made going forward are because if people look at how they're using Classic, most people use a certain way. So you can feed your animals, several different ways in both the platforms. And people generally use it one way or the other. They don't, one day do all their feedings in the animal area or in the animal list, and then another day they do it in the rack, right? They're generally choosing, and we've learned this over the 6 years of Husbandry Pro Classic, that they're either using the rack system, or they're using the animal list system, or they're using this. They're generally not using multiple. So that's why we've sectioned things off, right? So if you go to your animals, well, there's all your animals. You go to your enclosures are there. Show, commerce. Those are all, if you're doing stuff, with finances, and everything is found in the commerce section. So really you would go to an area, work in it, and then go to another area. And pages work a little differently, where when you're in the animal section, you don't really leave that. So when you're opening panels, your data is still there. In Classic, we would navigate away from places, right? We no longer navigate away, right? In Classic, you would go down 2 or 3 pages. Well, currently we're just, on one page with panels opening up. It's more of a modern framework and a more of a modern system that way.
Yeah. So, but we are actively going through it every day. We're fixing bug reports on it every day as they're coming in. I don't think we have anything really outstanding. So we're definitely working on those and getting through all that. So I like that I can kind of jump back to Classic if I hit a point on that. But I would like to point out, that this is a new platform out there, and, the community does make it better. And when we hit that friction, we got to make sure we're reporting that if we want to help make the program better. Because,
yep.
Telling us
reporting
the
is huge.
problem is the quickest way to get the problem fixed. That's for sure.
Yeah. And I'll tell you the truth, with AI these days, we can actually have AI analyze the problem and kind of say, is it a problem? Isn't a problem in a matter of minutes. We take care of some tickets when they come in within 15 or 20 minutes. It'll deploy the next day, but the bug is actually fixed in that short a period of time now. So
would you say like AI makes all of this easier and makes the program better? Like we work through tickets faster and everything?
Yeah, it's for us. We use it as a tool to support us. It's not. We don't write with AI. We get assist from AI in writing code. It speeds us up for sure. All the testing, all the design, all that kind of stuff is still human based. It has to be. And with 30,000 registered users, we can't just push out stuff that is going to break the platform. I'm going to knock on some wood with our downtime over the last 6 years. It's been negligible, right? I remember maybe a day in total that we were down one time several years ago. So it's also a testament to the staff, right? Like, with 3 devs full time, and we also have office staff that I have working for a couple companies, but they're there watching the systems all the time. You don't find that generally with a lot of smaller products. And I think it speaks to what we're investing in the future too. Today Classic is a reptile product. Next has the ability to be a product for every animal, because we saw within Classic that people weren't just putting in their snakes and their lizards and stuff. They were putting in their dogs. They were putting in their cats. They were putting in all sorts of different animals. They were putting in cars for maintenance reminders, things like that. So we had that frame in mind when we were building Next, that the next version needs to support all these other things. But when you do those kind of things, there is so much more you can bring back to reptiles, right? It's like we wouldn't have done a CRM unless we needed it for the zoos, right? So, we've been designing the CRM for a while, and it's been needed for other companies, but there's no reason why a reptile person shouldn't use a CRM to help them build their business, right? It's just smart business. So we've included that into the product too. And we'll always continue to build that way, where if we find something that is useful for one type of industry within animal husbandry, we will offer it and have it available to all. And that, that just goes to how dynamic the system can be and how daunting. We get that, but you can ignore things. We're also bringing out ways that you can completely shut things down. So if you want just animals and you want enclosures and that's it, you don't want to deal with genealogy and everything else, well, let's shut that stuff down. Then that clutter that comes in the beginning, where there's so much there, can be minimized. And, we will work towards that also in the future more.
Oh yeah. Speaking of the CRM, I see that's something we've got coming out. I know we're working on that. That's going to be a nice one, and not just for zoos, that's going to be for a lot of your commercial level breeders, and even, a little bit below that, the breeder level breeders,
Yep.
Really, you start producing 50, 100 babies. It's like all those numbers add up. Keeping up with all of those contacts is important, and being able to manage that all in one place, all in the same place is really the big thing. Is like, oh, I can send you here to my Husbandry Pro store. You can message me through it. I can keep up with you automatically through my Husbandry Pro CRM that you get put into when you inquiry me. And once the CRM comes out, we'll be able to reach out, I'm assuming, in ways and contact some of these users, and and be able to do it all from one platform instead of having to jump to this other platform and that other platform.
Right. We have the ability to bring these things, within the software and make them work together, right? It's all well and good that you have a CRM somewhere else, but can you tag a price list that you already have built? Can you include animals in that CRM? Can you set goals to sell X number of animals this month within the other CRM by simply clicking on the animals, right? And you can within our platform, if you're using an external CRM, you're then importing that data, right? Or you're moving that from us into there. So that's kind of where we're going with a lot of these things is we're making it so this would be your hub, and then you can go out and push these things other places. You can, by just managing the one place, it just makes everything else easier. So we're adding as many of those features as possible, for sure.
just to some of the people who are throwing some questions out there, some of them are going to be answered. We're about to pull up the screen and go through the system, and I will bring your questions up. I'm not ignoring you. I've got them marked, and as we get to them, we'll pull them up. But you want to get into it and show the people some of Husbandry Pro Next?
Yeah, sounds good. Whoops,
throw it up on the screen.
Oh, it came up. There we go. So basically, this is the home page, your main dashboard, where you would come and get a quick look of everything that's going on during the day. Now, very similar to Classic. Classic has the exact same thing. As it has buttons, it has charts, it has all these type of quick glance panels that tell you about what's going on. So it's very similar that way. The bottom bar is kind of where we live, right? Because that can bring up a couple different things. You're going to go to your home, which is your dashboard. This button here shows all your workspaces, which is kind of a duplicate of here. And these can also be customized. You can turn on and off a lot of these buttons. With this button down here, you can also add other panels and pages. So let's say you wanted to, you always go to your commerce page or your for sale page. Well, you can add that button in here, right? And make it a quick button down here now when you click here and go there. So there's a lot of customization that is also built into Next from the beginning. Offer. Yeah, go ahead, Zach.
In this section, I want to pop up. I had a couple people on this one, from Mind Manga Philosophy, saying I'm a new user of Husbandry Pro. I tried during migration, but waited till version 2 came in. Is there a way to add a minimal feature for a new version? It feels a little cluttered at the moment.
Right.
So, and this is you can tackle this one, but and maybe add on to this. But we have a customizable feature here where we can trim all this down and make it only what you want to look at, right?
Right. So we have we call it My Hub, and it's basically a custom dashboard that you can build yourselves. And again, it's based on feedback is how detailed this is going to get for us. So if we go to the designer in this system, it allows you, well, why are you not seeing any of this? Share this tab instead. There we go. Okay, so let me get back to there because you couldn't see that. So if I go back here, so I would click the customize button, and then I can go up here and I can go to the designer. And this designer allows you, so this center section here would be what your desktop would look like. And you can go ahead and add or remove anything that you would want on your own desktop. We also have the ability, once people start using this a little bit more, we have a little button down here that says share my link or export. And what would happen is you would then be able to design this glorious page that you've got. So let's go ahead and take a look at the page. I've designed this amazing page right here. So this is now my dashboard. And I can come back to this designer here and I can export that designer and give it to somebody else. So once people start designing some really nice desktops, they can supply this code to somebody else. They can import it in this page. And then their page will look similar with their own data, not with somebody else's data in it. But it's just kind of a design templating system that we will expand more later also, because there are some quick ones that you can do. So that, like if we go and we add a workspace, if we go new workspace, right at the beginning, it shows current dashboard, default starter, or add a single panel. So you can just add one panel, but we'll build this out a little bit more to say, minimalized starter or heavy graph starter or that kind of thing. We just need to know how people are using it, and as time goes on we analyze that data. So we'll start building these so that when you click it, it's exactly kind of built kind of how you want it. You can move a few things around, save it, and you can use that all the time.
So that might be something where we could have as a part of our onboarding where we give them like 2 or 3 options to click through, and then they select an option for everything to look, and that's something that would be easy for us to add in the future. And maybe like a minimalistic view might be something we can throw on there where it's like, more basic for people who are just doing,
right.
your minimal husbandry stuff or something. It's an option, right?
We have a catch-22 with that, I think, is that when you do an onboarding, people go, yes, I have this. Yes, I have that. Do you want minimal? Do you want this? Yeah, I just need a minimal. Then they never realize how much more is there, right? All the other stuff, right? So and it's kind of a choice, and we're always going to have that. We're always going to have that where we want everybody to try it out at the breeder level, because the breeder level has everything in it, right? Breeder level and up has everything in it. And then you decide what you can do without and what you can't do without. I think if we go to Husbandry Pro page, share this one. So if we go to the Husbandry Pro page, we have on our packages, we have right down here advanced features. So these are the features that are available only in breeder level and up. The CRM is being added to this. We have a retail workspace coming. We have an isopod workspace coming. The rattery, a few things like that will be in the breeder level and up. So this level here. Let me just flip back to here. So when you select, it's best to select, in my opinion, the breeder level, decide what you need and what you'll live with and what you don't. And then after the 30 days, because we don't take a credit card for your first 30 days, it's 30 days for free. Give it a try, do whatever you want to do, and then decide, right, which level of subscription works best, I think. So do you want me to move on to a couple of the other parts with this, Zach? Some of the
one more on that, yep. And this one might be a bug one. It says all the menus are a little cluttered. What does it say? When you hit the settings, it removes the home bar. Is that a thing?
Not sure. It's not removing the home bar. So everything comes up on top. Like there's a panel that comes up, right? So you don't have to leave this data here, right, to do a quick change. You're not going to 4 or 5 different pages. You're simply bringing up a panel. And you'll find that if you're in a workspace, so I'm currently in this workspace, if I open a panel from here, it comes up over this. The bottom bar is gone, but that's so you don't click away from here and leave that open, or realize that you had stuff going on back here in this that you were working on. You're not really, because most people in Classic would click an animal, they navigate away, and then when they try to get back, they're not where they were before. That was kind of one of the huge complaints that we always had. Well, right now, if you go down here to this animal here, or you're on page 3 and you pop up, this animal here, when you close that, you're still on page 3. You're still at the same spot where you left, right? So from a navigation standpoint, that's a big choice we made with Next, right? To move around, or to not move around, to keep people in a certain spot where they would normally be, because we heard a lot of comments, I get lost, right? It's just a lot that way. People are still going to get a little lost because there's more here, but hopefully they understand the workspace environment and how that works with each other.
Sorry for reading a couple questions. Okay, yeah, we can go ahead and move on to the next section.
Okay, sounds good. So I'm going to go back to the homepage here, and basically it's built up of a few different main areas. I think most people use the animal section, and with activities, with the feeding. So this is a feeding. I don't know if the old platform has a feeding stage. I think it has a feeding page of some sort, but it really has a fully encompassed way to manage your feeders in a list format or a full format. You can feed your animals super quick with one click. You can change the quantity, the type of feeders that they have. You can do, select all and do a bulk feeding of everything that you have for the day. So I just fed all my animals with a click, everything that was due. But again, with everything, it depends on the type of data you put into it, whether, that's going to be as easy for you as it is for me, because every one of my animals has a default feeder. But when we go to those things too, it does remind us, hey, we don't have a default feeder, so set it. So we've tried to cover all those bases too. Is there another question, Zach, or no?
Yeah, I got a question that might be in this area. This is from Torres Exotics. I've got a few questions. The first is, I've seen that you have an environment workspace, and I was wondering if there's a way when I'm recording animals' activities, if there could be a link to record the values.
So there's a couple ways to do it now, and we can do that. That's quite simple to do, because what we could do is we could add an activity. All you need to do is open up a ticket for that. But what we would do is we would go and we would take the activity. So if we take a look here, hang on. So currently you can make custom activities. So we would add a set activity. The way the environment works is that when you make environment areas, you can have, so we would make an environment called whatever. I'm going to call this new environment, new one. And then I add animals to the environment, or I can add a rack to the environment. I can add cages to the environment. I can add whatever I want to that environment. Then within that environment, I can have zones. Okay. And in those zones, I can have recordings for different types of things. So zones can, so I'm going to add some animals here instead of a group. And then, and then I can add a zone. So I'm going to add a couple zones, and then I attach sensors to those zones. So trying to explain how this works is that with those zones, you can record multiple events to those zones, and every event to those zones will be attached to the animal that is in that zone. I hope that makes sense. So if you have, 4 racks put into a zone, and every animal, when you do a recording to that zone, will get that temperature recorded to that animal for that date and time. Okay. So if you have sensors coming in, so if you have things like, if we go back to the homepage here and I go to my integrations and I take a look at my spiderweb integration, I currently have this spiderweb set up with the 4 probes in it. And then I've assigned these individual probes to zones within my green tree pythons. So now every animal, or every time the recording comes in, it is assigned to that animal for that time frame. So you can then do a report on that animal and see the temperature ranges throughout, the days. You could do a humidity, whatever environment reading that you want to record, you can make it for a zone. And you could also do that for a cage or a rack. It doesn't have to be a zone, but it's all built into the environment. And yes, it's complicated, but once you start to play with it, you can understand that you can do things multiple ways. Because we built it to handle things like habitats too, and not just cages, right? It allows us to do, to think outside the box and say, a ranch, what zones does it have, right? Within a paddock. Right? Is there a feeding zone? Is there are there different zones that you may want to record different data? It does not have to be temperature and humidity. It can be all sorts of things, right? Do animals eat better on that side of it? So you would, you could then say a zone has a food source, and then you would record feeding in that zone, which animals would feed from that zone. And then you would have a record of that going forward, right? So the idea of everything that we do is storing records and then having them work together with each other well. And that's kind of what we're trying to do. I hope that makes sense.
Yes. and a lot of these workspaces, can do a lot of stuff. There's a lot of comments about, minimalistic stuff and, a simplistic system that I'm seeing coming up and stuff. And, and a lot of these workspaces are extremely capable areas. And so that's why, if you're comfortable with Classic, if Classic's easier for you to navigate, that's why we're keeping it there, because this system is going to be an extremely capable system. And every page, every workspace here is very, very capable of handling a lot of different types of workloads depending on the way that people work within their collections.
Yep. And we are focused on those small collections that require only, animals, really. Because at the end of the day, it's not hard as the feedback comes in. If people say, I would love it to be an animal tracker, and that's kind of about it, because I don't use any of this other stuff. It is very simplistic for us to make a animal capture mode only or animal system mode only, where you're just dealing with animals and recording their activities. But then you're losing out sometimes on some of the advanced reporting and stuff like that. But that's what the custom dashboard is for. And we can just simply build out custom dashboards and put people right into that dashboard. And that's kind of where they live. right? And we tailor the links to that dashboard. And then you still have the option always to go back to our full, the full meal deal.
Yeah.
Okay, so what else do we have coming? So do you want me to hit the CRM? How are we for time? We're halfway through, right?
Yeah, we're still good on time.
Okay, sounds good. So, but it seems like a lot of the features that we have too are for the breeder level. So I just also want to stress that. I know we have a lot of people saying that it's complicated or there's a lot there. It's because there is a lot there, right? So I don't know that we need to go too deep into a lot of these things, but I will go into the CRM that is coming next, and that will basically allow people to build out their customer list very effectively, and then build pipelines. They can build here's customer lists. They can build pipelines. So you would then, if anybody's used a CRM, you build kind of a sales deal, and then you promote that deal and you follow that deal through until whatever's happened to that deal, right? So we have a full system for doing that with the Kanban that you can move from, to do to in review. And it's not this task system, and a lot of these different workspaces will have task systems specific to that area. So we have the full-on task system at the bottom here, which runs all your tasks. But again, some of the other pages require their own more in-depth task systems. And that's what we've done with the CRM, right? We allow the task system here that doesn't necessarily bleed over, right? It doesn't necessarily bleed over into your full-blown task, but you can have it to make sure that it goes onto my main task list with notifications and everything else, push notifications, email notifications, and things like that. Something that we've really concentrated on too is that a lot of places are going to build a CRM that isn't a true CRM. So our CRM is built in a manner that you don't need to leave the CRM in order to deal with your clients, right? You create, you select your customers you want to send to, you select or you write the message here. You then include certain animals, or you include price lists from shows that you've made, or things like that. And you send it out. And when they reply, it comes to your inbox. And then you reply back to that customer as if it's its own contained thing. And you can also turn that on or off. You can say, I want replies going to my email instead of into the CRM. But the CRM does things that are kind of automatic, right? When the message comes in, it kind of will decide what to do with that message. It puts it into a thread. You can keep track of it that way. All your customers are in one spot. You can reference what they were interested in, what they're not interested in, and things like that. So in dark mode, I don't know. You know what? I've been actually developing in light mode. I haven't been using dark mode. So and the reason being is because dark mode is a little bit easier than light mode. But it also has things like a little more in-depth wait list, and it has the classic wait list that you can manage from here too. So if you have a store on Classic and people go to your incubator that is listed there, and people want to get on your wait list, it'll actually populate into this CRM also. So you don't have to go back to Classic to deal with that at all, right? We also haven't updated the marketplace. The marketplace is going to live on Classic still for a while. There's no need for it to come to Next, but the data will come to Next because it's shared data all throughout. So the CRM is just kind of a way, it was kind of the extension of our commerce system, right? Because, again, commerce is another platform or another workspace that has a lot more than just, how much is this animal, right? It has full analytics, it has invoicing, it has peer offers, it has your store setup, husbandry costs. If you set up things like husbandry costs from the beginning, you can then determine exactly how much each animal is going to cost you at the end of a month. You can run reports at the end of every month that says this is what it cost me to run my business this month, and that's going to end up in your email. And in fact, when you go to things like, if you go to animals and you go to reports, and I run, animal inventory valuation report. So we've got this report that we're going to generate, and this is kind of what the valuation report is going to look like. But you can go down here and you can schedule this report. So another advanced feature is you would select which report. So I selected the animal inventory report. What time of day do I want this to happen? How do you want it to go? Do you want it to save into your document vault, or do you want it emailed? I get mine emailed every morning. I get this little report of what's going on into my email every morning. I look at it before I even come into the office, and I can hit create schedule, and away it goes. So now I have these 2 scheduled reports. Breeders can have up to 5, and they can rotate those however they want. But instead of having to come and run reports, you can have these reports automatically generated and sent to you. And then when you put your utilities and your document storage, everything you've printed now too in Next. So if you print a bunch of labels, they're here. If you print price lists, if you print reports, anything that you print stays in this document vault for 30 days and then is pruned. So how many times have you printed all your labels and then went, oh shit, I didn't print them, or I got to print them again? You don't have to run your report again anymore, right? Like you do in Classic. You come to your document vault, it's sitting right there. Go ahead and print it or email it or do whatever you want with it, right?
That's nice. That's nice. I do that all the time, and then I have to go and I'll select these 79 animals I'm printing labels for, screw up one thing, and then I have to go back through and manually select the animals again.
Exactly. Right. So those are the kind of feature-rich things that we're adding to Next that won't be added to Classic, right? Just because it doesn't make a lot of sense for us to duplicate something so intense in there too, when it functions and works far better in this platform.
But I'm liking that for, like, because I do a lot of stuff off of needs feed. They got the little selector where I can, which animal needs feeding.
Right.
And so I see those animals and I feed off those animals and I feed off those animals, and then randomly 400 animals.
Right.
I've gone through that list and I'm like, wait a minute, this animal is not showing up on my needs feed list because, I never put in a feeder type for it, or this or that.
Right.
And I find those animals through running like these exception reports, and I have to just remember to go run these. So like being able to go in and set that up, like, oh, hey, once a month, just run me an exception report of any animal that hasn't had a feeding entry, in the last 30 days,
Exactly.
And it's just like, oh, hey, dummy, here's these 3 animals. They have 0 feedings. And I'm like, oh, only one of them is on my list. I screwed up something, that stuff that helps with bigger collections a lot.
It does. You can do inventory reports. You can do all sorts of reports. And, if you want to do a feeder inventory report every Monday morning, right, see what you need that day, right? So these are tools that are designed for, real businesses, but they can be used by anyone, because at the end of the day, I think from day one, the sales pitch for Husbandry Pro was always, you're going to keep better records, which is better for the animal and better, it's going to help you make sales. Even if you're not making sales, it's good practice to do so. But we're also going to save you time. How much is your time worth? Is it worth $18 a month? Right. And I think, we've made the argument that Husbandry Pro saves breeders time and people that have collections time. Managing those collections properly, right? So that's really what it does, and that's one of those features that does that.
Can you bring something up for me? I've got a user keeps talking about accidentally signing out whenever that bar on the bottom is covered. Pull up something that covers that bottom bar. We'll see where the sign out button's at.
Yeah, I gotta close that one. Okay, feeding.
I don't see any sign out buttons or anything.
Yeah, there shouldn't be. The only place you can really sign out is here and the sign out button. Move the home bar buttons.
Sign out button, super easy.
Yeah, well, we could we'll take a screenshot of that. We'll take a look and maybe Zac can
we'll
follow up
look
and
at
see
that.
what you mean on that. But yeah, anytime we can find a small improvement too, like that, we're on it, right? Because developers are notorious for knowing how their software works. Right, and doing what works, and that's kind of it, right? When we hand stuff that we've done 100 times and 3 developers have already seen it, and somebody says, well, what about this bug? And it's like, well, we never even thought of that, and it's because somebody clicked somewhere, right, that wasn't necessarily the right place to click, or we didn't anticipate they'd click there more along the way. But something that people also should be aware of, there's things like the tour. If you click on the tour, you can select a lot of these different areas, right? And they'll go ahead and bring up, right, kind of a walkthrough on what you can do on this page. We also have a pretty extensive help system on the side here. little AI help too, to go and do a search for you. We intend on having videos for each page as soon as I get some time to do those. And we're also waiting till, kind of each workspace got over the finish line, right? When we were completely happy with everything and we weren't going to be making any major changes and just adding later. So we're also waiting for that point to get some of that kind of stuff out there too.
And could you show me one more time? Where's that help menu at?
Anywhere there's a question mark. So there's one there.
Okay.
There's on every workspace, right up at the end here, there's the question mark, and your utilities bar has your things like your document storage, your PDF template designer, your label QR designer, flow code, species manager, custom fields for your animals, indicators, reminders, import, export, contacts, and settings. So all those things are kind of available in a couple of different places. You don't always have to go back to the dashboard in order to navigate there.
Yes. I did see one, somebody had said something about the cell phone app, and I did want to point out that we do have new versions of the app out. There was some issues with the original version, I believe it was, right, Robert? And
so I think our first first release of that worked well, and then we went to add, really fix up kind of some of the NFC stuff and those kind of things. And I guess we pushed out a version that the push notifications just kept firing back and forth, and it slowed down the apps. So unless you're on 2.19, delete anything previous to 2.19 and go re-download iOS or Android 2.19.
Yeah, if you're not sure which one you have, it's just delete it and go download the new Next, and make sure you got that new one. And that iOS people, I know that we've had issues on Classic with some of the notifications and push notifications. Those all should work stellar, and you'll be pleased to know that those work exceptionally well on the Husbandry Pro Next app that we've got now. So make sure you're on the new version and go download those.
So let's pop up my screen one more time there, Zach. I just want to show one thing too that I think people either don't even realize it's there or not. So
that was one of the questions, is somebody had asked how they didn't know that they could switch between light mode and dark mode. Where was that at?
Oh, yeah, you just hit your hamburger. That's called the hamburger menu, and right at the top corner, light and dark.
Oh,
dark. Okay, so when you click on this button, the search is a really dynamic, really great search feature, in my opinion. If you know IDs and you work by IDs, you can go ahead and press this button here that says ID search only, and then you're always searching just by ID, right? And they just come up super fast here. And you can go ahead and fire off any activity from this search also. So if I want to go and post a quick activity feeding to that animal, I'm done. But what else it does when you come back to the search, it pulls up the recently viewed animals and recent searches. So it kind of remembers those things as you're doing it, all these different search things. You can also edit these buttons for quick actions for different things on this search panel here. So I think it's something that's a little underutilized and really can be a benefit to a lot of different people for sure.
Yep. And that's right there with that was the plus button.
Yep. Yeah. Plus button and then search. And that's the search.
And that's your search everything. I had a couple people ask about that one.
And then if you're on the app, when you press that button, you can go to the scanner. This is the web, just a web version that you can use, but I don't know anybody that uses web versions of scanners. We do have the 2D scanner, which is a handheld scanner, just like in Classic. And the way you switch between the different types of scanners is you would pull up your scanner bar, and then you would click there, and you can go handheld, 2D handheld scanner, and then you can go ahead and scan things. But we also
that's so much easier to go back, and because I switch back and forth a lot between the handheld,
right,
on my phone, because I'll hook the handheld up to my phone when my daughter's on the other side of the room, and that navigates so much faster than in Classic.
Well, exactly. And then we've got the always on also that we've got in experimental mode, so you can actually just go click stuff now, right? So you could be anywhere and scan, and it should pop up the animal, right? And I think there might be an issue or two on a version of Chrome, I think, that may have an issue there. So we're just waiting for some feedback on that, because at the end of the day too, it's like there's so many different kinds of phones, there's so many different screen sizes, there's so many different kinds of scanners, printers, all that kind of stuff, and we do our best to make it work with everything. So our library of stuff that connects to it for not only the scanning, but the NFC tags. We still have the NFC built into this, but we've also expanded things like NFC within Next. If you don't know what NFC is, we have the scanner that you scan, you print QR codes and you scan QR codes, but we also have NFC tags. You can buy NFC tags on Amazon, and you can program those to just tap your phone to instead of scanning. But what we've also done here is we've made it so that in the NFC tags, you can create different types of NFC tags. View, activity menu, so it does an activity, it does a sale, just pulls up info. You can clear the tags. So your tags, you can really make custom NFC tags for feed, for reproduction, whatever, and just tap that specific NFC tag.
And
if you've got one animal, you
just on NFC tags and setting those up and stuff.
Yeah, like it's just a matter of touching the NFC tag with the phone, right? So it's super easy to set up too. So, and I think we've really done a good job on that going forward.
I've got one question on the scanning stuff since we were touching on it.
Yep.
In Classic, there's a setting where I can turn a setting on to whenever I click the scanner and I scan an animal, I do my activity, it then brings the scanner back up to scan the next animal. And I can't find that setting in Next.
It should be there. Just take out, just check me tomorrow.
Okay.
I haven't used the scanner in a little bit. So
I just remembered that whenever we were talking about the scanner, and I was like, oh, I forgot to ask about that. Okay.
And people should also remember that they have a lot of choice when it comes to the view on which view to use, right? You don't have to use, I think we use the data view as the stock view just because it gives the most information. When you click on animals, you can get quick analytics on them too if you click this button here. But you can, we've got the list view. It's a little bit bigger, chunkier view. You've got deuce view, which is kind of for a cell phone or a tablet is kind of what that view is for. The animals show up in partial on the top. Showcase view, a lot of people use this view. Small grid view, and then the data view. And the data view, again, you can go here and you can change, that's the full width or not. You can go ahead and set which columns are in the data view. So you don't need to have all these columns that I have here. So you can really specifically say which columns you want and which columns you don't want anytime. And then we've got the filter studio, which the filter studio, we have two ways to filter, kind of an old school filter like we've had in Classic. But the filter studio is a little more encompassing. Does a little bit more with saving filters and bookmarking filters and creating. You'll be able to, this will be expanded more to create more complex filters, and we'll be adding AI filtering to this also. So once we start rolling out some of the AI stuff, it'll be more in the studio than it will be in just quick filters, because these are kind of quick filters here. Okay, but again, multiple ways to do things, and it's kind of the way we've always done things. Is giving people a choice what works best for them. So we're trying to stay as true to how we used to do things while advancing as fast as we can and as encompassing as we possibly can with the new software, for sure.
So back on the search, I had a follow-up on the Breeze Exotics. Maybe you understand this one a little better. Let's take that one.
I want to update my rodent supplier. So AI-driven smart search, it allows natural wording to locate what is needed versus words. So we have AI capabilities in a lot of different places, and it's actually mostly in admin right now, writing a lot of our help files and things like that, analyzing tickets. And we're going to be moving it more into the breeding plan and the commercial plan. But at the end of the day, it's only as good as the model that we're paying for. So things like the breeding, the CRM, offering the CRM to users is fine to do, but it has inherent costs. If you go to MailMonkey, I believe they charge for, or is it MailMonkey? I don't know. It's something like that. They charge, for emails, the amount of emails that you send. Well, we're giving 1,500. We figure, it costs us whatever, a couple bucks or $1 to send 1,500. But when we get into AI, it's kind of the same thing, right? Once people start to abuse those things, it's not as easy as, pulling up ChatGPT on the web and getting it for free. It's an API call and everything else that we actually pay for. So it opens us up to abuse too. So we always have to worry about those kind of things, but we will be integrating AI in a lot of different ways that will benefit you. And if it's, Bree, if you want to message me and just kind of tell me what scenario AI would be useful for you, that would be helpful. Things in development, things like we have voice commands coming so that you can start talking. So you can basically say, find me my blue ball python. And then, did it do it? Oh, may not have done it. Oh, maybe I stopped.
No blue ball pythons.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe that's why. Find me a pastel ball python. Okay. No, I don't have it completely hooked up yet. So basically things like that. And the reason that is in place is from a veterinarian who had suggested that it's important for them to not be touching things when they're doing things. So in order to record records and health records and things like that, we've started to build out this voice system, and the voice system will also be in the apps. So you'll basically be able to talk to your app to do a lot of the basic features that you would normally have to type for. So
maybe leave it open over there and tell it to record a feeding for this animal, or in my case, it'll be a lot of record a pairing for this animal, record a pairing for that animal.
Exactly. Like if you're at your rack, you would turn this on, right? And you would say, record pairing of BP-0074 and BP-0049, right? And it should, the idea is that it records that pairing for you. The drawback is we're going to have acknowledgments before it starts firing all this data into your thing, because it's still not perfect. That kind of stuff is not going to be perfect. We've all talked to Alexa and had it tell us something crazy. But we also need to, we also need to minimize our support tickets, right? So if it starts doing some crazy crap, we need to make sure we have some safeguards against that. So things like that, even though we announced that they're coming, they may be 3 months down the road, 6 months down the road, but they are on our radar and they're already being built into the system. And there's so many different things like that. There's a retail platform, or there's a retail workspace for stores. So if you run a pet store, sending your customers home with really good records from those animals, care guides, things like that is really, an important feature, I think. And to have that, we have a QuickBooks integration coming. So to have that will be, just a matter of all your stuff's going to QuickBooks at the end of the day, right? So your accounting, your real accounting is covered that way too. So those are things on. Do you want me to show the reptile ads thing?
Yeah, let's show the little reptile ads thing.
So we're also, as everybody knows, we've always had integrations. We have Sensor Push, Govee, and Spiderweb now. I know somebody had mentioned something about Govee earlier. If it's not ungated yet, send in a ticket, but it should be ungated. Sometimes I can't tell if I have this blocked off for everybody else or just me, or if it's available to everybody else.
Yes,
or it's
we should be able to use the Govee stuff now, right?
Right. You should be able to use the Govee stuff. Govee's a little tricky. Govee, it's not kind of a public API. So anybody that is using Govee is basically telling Govee, hey, Govee, I need my API key for myself, right? That's kind of what you say to Govee. And then you put it in here and it will start getting your sensors. So I have my sensor running that's on my desk here. My Govee sensor data is coming in. I can assign that. I don't have it assigned anywhere yet. I'm going to assign it to my juvenile rack. Where do I want it? In one certain box or the whole rack? So I'm going to leave it in the whole rack. And then it's recording the ambient temperature. And then, so I've assigned that. So now that Govee, every animal in that rack is now getting the temperature from that Govee assigned to it, right? So before in Classic, you would assign it to a rack, and then you could only look at your rack temperatures, right? So you would have to then in your brain say, okay, what animals were in that rack, right? So the new version kind of is connecting them, right? It's making all those little connections, those little tiny connections that we didn't have before, right? Everything is getting connected. It's a great way to look at it, is that the data is all there, but with Next, we've able to really leverage that data. And the sooner I think people get into Next, the sooner they're going to realize how much more there is for them to really dial in. But it could also be a time sink to get set up and daunting and everything else. Start early and start often, right? We also have Google Calendar sync. I haven't readdressed it yet. I believe it's active. Outlook is not yet, and neither is Apple. But all three of these calendars are soon to come, where that notifications inside of Husbandry Pro will be posted to your calendar if you so choose. You would have to set up those connections. There's a Morph Market export. There's a Clutch and Morph Market import. We have API from the old system. And then we're just finalizing a reptile ads connection. And it's not simply a export or anything. So if you have animals that are for sale and you do not have a reptile ads account set up yet, because you're verified with Husbandry Pro and we have a good relationship with reptile ads, you can go ahead and click connect on here, and it basically builds an account for you on reptile ads. You select what animals you want to push, you push those animals to reptile ads, and you now have an account on reptile ads where all you have to do is go sign into reptile ads, acknowledge a few things, and publish those animals. And from then on, you can just simply come back here and update, right? It doesn't, you don't need to, it's not an export and an import and everything else. And it, depending on how many people use it and the feedback that we get on it, will determine how deep we go with that integration. We're always going to require the usage of reptile ads if you're making that connection. You can't just, you're going to have to answer customers, everything else over on that platform. But to actually push your animals and that kind of thing and get sold data back, and that'll all be in place. And I think we're pretty close to that. I would say a week or so, Zach, if we get some time.
Yeah,
just
it was looking really good last time.
We're in testing right now, and it's just getting those things hammered out. So if you're not a member of Reptile Ads yet, and if you have an account there already, you can make that connection with a click also. It's very simple to make that connection. They'll bind the two accounts together, right? If the email addresses match, and then you're good to go.
Yeah. And so you just push them, people who already have an account, and you'll have a way from Husbandry Pro to just push it to reptile ads instead of going to reptile ads and then pulling it from Husbandry Pro.
Right.
And
importing and then importing.
Push, it's actually faster than having to do the pull from Husbandry Pro at reptile ads. So it's real quick. That's super nice. We're getting a little long on time. I've got just a handful of questions here if we want to blow through some.
Yeah. Just one last thing. Change log. When people are looking to find out, what we've been doing, not just sitting around, always check this kind of thing to kind of see if you put in a ticket. We always reply to the ticket. If you didn't get a reply to the ticket, it's because I'm probably pulling my hair out on the ticket, or I'm just not sure what to do, or it's a little premature for me to deal with. I know we have some BOA information that I need to get into the system to fix, but there was some other things that had to get done first. So hopefully that'll be all updated this weekend.
Check the change log. We don't bog down social media with every single update we do every day. I saw a couple people talk about the speed at which changes are rolling out, and they don't seem to be as fast as they would like them. But if you look at the change log, you'll see that literally every day of the week we're updating stuff. There's not a single day, except for maybe a holiday, and even some on holidays, where updates are getting pushed, changes are getting put in. There's not a backlog of tickets sitting there or bug reports. We're waiting for people to come in and tell us it's broken. Come in and show us. Be like, hey, look, this doesn't work, so we can get it fixed. We've got the means to get it done.
Okay. Any questions there, Zach?
Yeah, I've got a list of some that we can probably blow through pretty quick. So this one could be a bug one. Breeze Exotic says that when you modify the dashboard and icons, when you reopen it, it reverts to the regular layout for a while before it flashes and then shows the other one.
That should not. However, we did push some reloading or rereading bugs that we had found in some of the lower layers of the code today, which may have fixed something like that. So if you can reproduce that or tell me, I think you have my email and a ticket, either one, we'll take a look at right away. It shouldn't change. Sometimes the first page comes up and it should right away. There shouldn't ever be a 30 or 45 second. We also, here's the other thing too, is we don't know sometimes about a problem that may affect a few people without hearing about it. So like today, we heard from a larger user that had, 1,600 animals that they were slow. And I would log in the same account, super fast for me, super fast for other people. So it's really hard to debug things until we get a couple different scenarios where it's happening to a couple of different people. This gentleman's issue was, large images, right? Because everything was imported, it actually missed kind of our processing on the images. So those images are huge in the system right now. And, that's something that we hadn't anticipated and that we're working through right now. So within the next day or so, that account will be fixed, which should, again, translate to other accounts having a similar issue for speed. And anytime, and speed is probably our biggest concern. When I use it, everybody sees I'm remote. I'm not sitting on the software or anything. This is at our server, which is in New York. So it's not, it's kind of close to Canada, kind of close to the US. So it's not a thing where there should be a latency issue, how far the server is. So for me, it's like, this is the speed that it's intended. So if you're not experiencing speed like this, then we need to hear about it. But again, today, after that problem, we invested in some serious analytical platform software that sits now within Next to make sure that we know before everybody else knows. And now we're just collecting data on that, which is over the next probably week, we'll have some great data on that.
Okay. Here's another one from Riley's. If you customize the desktop version, that's a good one. Will it show up on the Mac version or the app version customized like that?
Yes. And just remember too, when you do that, so it's the same desktop. So when you're viewing, just so everybody understands that the app is a native app with this view inside of it, right? So we modify this. So really, if you adjust the size of your screen even, which is probably when you go to design it. So we have the ability when you go to design it to look at it in mobile view. And you want to, when you preview it, right? So when you preview it, you would go here and you would say, this is what it's going to look like on my mobile device.
Oh, that's nice.
Do I like that on my mobile device? So when you're designing this, right, you want to make sure that you're putting the proper number of these things across and taking a look at it in mobile and in desktop. And then this is also, some people want a huge width, right? So they want a full width.
Yeah, I got a big, huge gaming wide screen. I hate those dead bars on the side all the time.
Exactly. Like I have 27-inch wide monitors. So for me, I use these super wide monitors. But when, like today, I'm using a regular size. I've got it cropped down because that's how most people will view it on a laptop. So when we develop on what is best laptop screen, and then we look at it for mobile or not, right? So, but yeah, just make sure that when you design it, you go and you preview it in mobile so that you're getting the best possible view on mobile and on desktop. And you can save this. Here we go. Oh, here's the pick a starter. So we have, current dashboard or default. So the current would basically load what we send you, do as default. And actually, you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, Zach, what we did do not too long ago is I'm going to get out of the designer here, get out of the preview. I'm just going to go back to the home here. Okay. What we did do is when somebody signs up for the first time, we actually don't have any of these panels down here, right? So I think, when you come into here and there's all these empty blank panels last week, that no longer happens. Now, when you come in brand new, none of these panels show because there's no data there, right? As you start filling the system with feedings or, breeding plans or racks, then these start to populate. We just found it wasn't necessary to show you big blank empty boxes anymore. Right? It didn't make sense.
That's nice. That's right? Nice. So, I did notice that when I was testing up like a dummy account that there was a lot of just blank boxes and stuff. And it's like, I knew what they were because, I've got the real account with that data in all those boxes.
Right. But if you have no data, I didn't think there was a need to show you a bunch of empty boxes. Right. So now we no longer give empty boxes. But, we do things like, this let me go down to the bottom here at the, oh, hang on. If you go up here and you, where's my designer? Oh, here it is. So this customize button here allows you to turn on, here's the customized layout of your standard dashboard. So this is your standard dashboard that you can also customize, right? So you can go here and remove any of these boxes that you do not want. You can go and change the width of these. So I want this one full width. I want this one half width. These are all good that size.
I think this is exactly what somebody commenting earlier was talking about, you know, because the other screen can seem a little daunting. Like this is real easy. It's just, you know, little on box instructions you can go click through. This is more like, you know, maybe like a safety mode version to go through and edit your stuff.
Yeah, well, this is, you know, you can edit anything. This is a standard desktop that you can edit too, right? So you can either use the custom or the standard, and it's really up to you. Yeah, fast AF. That's you know, we try to be. How about that? But it's and you know what people don't realize too. Our company is situated. We do this full time. This is not, hey, we whipped up this software over the last 6 months, you know, in part time. The data is too important, in my opinion, to leave to a company that's doing something part time. We have growth aspirations. You know, we're a company that you know, fortunately enough, makes enough money to pay its developers, but our future is building this into an enterprise level system with, you know, 100,000, 200,000 users, and the software that most, you know, animal businesses go to at a reasonable price, right? And modern, right? Because anything out there, if you want to go and run a zoo software these days, it's pretty antiquated in a lot of ways. And we have a lot of way to go to get as good as a lot of those things too. But that's the plan. And all those things translate all the way through to pet animals too.
Well, you know, and from working in a few different industries with a few different, you know, management systems that you have to operate in, you know, ADP and lots of different software systems you have to learn to navigate through. This is so easy. Like I remember, like, you know, systems I used to have little cheat sheets for codes you had to put in to pull up certain screens and stuff, you know, to do things like this. And you'd have one person at the company who knows how to train you on it, and you have to sit with them for 2 days to learn a process. And it's like, you can make a process in this system yourself in less time.
Well, and there's things like this. There's this form system that we have. So there's so many of these kind of things, outreach, customer management stuff that we have, where you could build a form that, you know, is a vet intake form. So the vet intake form can create this form, and then what happens? And then they would send this form to a user, and
adoption form, you know, I mean, anything.
And then that data, you tell it what to do with that data. So if you want a customer intake form, you can say, fill out this form. You can build this form, fill it out. You send them an email. That information automatically gets populated into Husbandry Pro. You can add, certificate information. So the reason this came about is that a user needed to get a certificate from a customer in Florida, I believe, in order to sell them something. You need to have a certificate. So what you can do now with this is you can say, on animals, I want to create an intake form, or I want to create a certificate ID form that I can send to a customer, and it gets added to this animal. And that's exactly what this does. You simply select the form that you built, and you select the animal and the customer. And when that information comes in, it gets added to the animal. Done. You don't have to then get this certificate, retype it in, transpose it into your animal data, right? That you have to keep for the government. Right. So you can build any type of form, any type of intake that can be merged into any of your data that you currently have, and then pushed out to any of the forms or any of the
forms and reports that you can automate and everything. Like that's going to make FWC and a lot of this reporting, you know, like even our international, you know, Australia's got a lot of reporting requirements and stuff, you know, like this stuff is going to be next level for that stuff.
Exactly. And that's kind of what, and that's kind of, there's so much of that kind of stuff. And again, daunting, but it's there. What's been saying? Animal dies, you don't want to archive. Is there a way to see? So when you archive it, Ken, that information is still available to you. You can read it, you can view it, you can do reports on it. You just can't change it. right? The animal is considered, dead, archived, but that data is still available. All you need to do is flip your list to show archived animals, and you can pull those up. And the beauty of that too is that animal then never counts towards your totals, right? So if you've got more than 500 animals, you don't, and you can archive 100 of them and get under 500, then you don't need to go to the commercial plan, right? So that's kind of the intent of archiving.
Good one, good one.
We edit the amount of feeders we have, 10 mice, and want to add it to the feeders. So you would go to, gotta remember too that I don't do a lot of this kind of stuff. Go to feeders and then management, and then you would select whichever feeder that you have, and you would just, adjust your numbers there. There we go. So you've adjusted your numbers, and with our rattery too. So if you have live animals, when you have the rattery going, you can actually push animals into your inventory from your live rattery. So those things would be combined. And then when you sell a bunch out of your rattery as food items to somebody else, it would be reflected in your feeder items too, or not. And that's kind of an option, right? So those are another one of those things where one workspace bleeds over into another workspace, but it's not required. You don't need to.
Good one. We got one more question from that user. I've seen the option to do multiple selections on activity. On Classic, you can do a custom activity, such as feed, supplement weight, to add to the activity log. I think they're asking if we can still do custom activities in the...
Yes. And I was looking at that just the other day on, I'm not sure where they put that. Oh, custom, no, not custom fields. Okay, so it is there. I'm wondering if the button got hidden, but the activity, we do have custom activities and they are available. So it's just a matter of finding where we put the switch for it, but it needs to be on this page. So it will be on this page shortly when you click your activities. Hang on, you can do them from here, I think. Quick activities, multiple, down here. Custom activity, there we go. So you can create your custom activity here in the same way you did, I believe, in the old one. Activity name, description, color, badge, what fields it populates. So you could add a field from your in your animal for that activity too. So it's not just, if you want to do what was the activity they were looking for?
He just said like feeding, weights, and throwing out examples.
Yeah, you can simply just do regular ones, right? That we already have custom, but you can build a custom one here that has this type of activity, and that field will be filled out on the animal, and the activity will be saved in your activity list. Okay, so we'll take a look at that again. I'll make sure we surface those buttons up into the activity panel.
Yeah, good one there. Let's see here. Oh, this is an important one from Batter Up Balls from Aaron Klein.
Beautiful.
Yes, we know.
Beautiful.
No.
How do I update a supplier?
How do you update a supplier?
Yeah, now you're gonna get me looking at something I haven't looked at a long time. Well, let's see if the help thing works here.
It's almost all the questions we got. If you've got another question, throw it up there. We're almost to the end. I think I've got one or two more.
Stock levels. Give me the other one. Okay, Bree, I'm going to write that one down. See, I absolutely don't know everything about it.
This one, I think I know the answer to, the QuickBooks integration. I believe we are going to put that behind the breeder paywall.
Yeah, everything is, any big integration like that, any business type thing will generally land behind the breeder. That's kind of the one where we can give a lot without costing a lot, because believe it or not, data, storage, servers, all that kind of stuff is expensive. So, and and not just that, network engineering, all that kind of stuff, it all takes, we have our own servers. We're not using some third-party app system that, is limited. We are all custom from the ground up. So we have all those systems that have to be paid for too. So I believe breeder will generally be the price point that we add most of the high level features to.
Got one from our buddies at Proxima. How do you add our logo to the cage card?
Well, that's a complicated one. So if you
that's one we could probably fill a whole episode with on how to go through the new label designer, because we have whole episodes on how to go through the label designer in Classic. That'll probably be an episode we end up doing here to go over a lot of the features coming forward.
Yeah, so it would just be on this page here. You would pull up your label QR designer and you can add image, you can add anything. You can completely design your size, what's on the label, pretty much everything you would want on the label. So right there. Okay. But yeah, we'll do, you know, and that's the thing. All I need to do is sit here for 10 minutes and make a video on this and then add it to the help file and we'll have it online. So I just need to find some time to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, a little work on the customs. I noticed we had the Dymo and the zebras in there, and you know I'm kind of partial to the brothers.
Yeah, but don't forget Dymo and Zebra are there because they're the most popular, but they're all thermal printers. They're all just a size. They're not anything else, right? So none of this stuff is when you say it's a Dymo, all that means is it's a rolling thermal printer. So any roll thermal printer that you can specify size or that you know the size of your label, you can use. It doesn't need to be a brother or anything. Thank you, Shane.
Yeah,
fast as fuck.
We're not monetized. You can say it.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. Okay. Anything else there, Zach? Anybody else have any questions?
So I've got one more question that's popped from Tors I'm trying to read. I can't seem to find all the feeders. It's just showing one.
Can't seem to find
where is? I haven't gone through the feeder section. What is that?
So if you go to feeding, this is the feeding station. It kind of gives you your overview. This is where you can do quick feedings and stuff. Here's your quick pick list for you to see what you need to feed. And then here's your feeder management. So you can do feed items, feed groups. This is where you can assign which feeders quickly to which animal. It'll show you ones that don't have feeders currently assigned. You can do bulk updating of all the feeders. But the actual feeder itself is under feed item, under management. And this is where you can add or remove different types of feeders. It doesn't have to be, and it could be any type of food. It could be a bowl of dog food, right? You could put in here. And that would then be the feeding item, right? So we're trying to get rid of another thing you'll notice with Next is we're trying to get a little more ambiguous about the wording for a lot of this kind of stuff, because we always use terms like feeder in the reptile industry. Well, next we're moving it towards feed item, right? Because it's not necessarily a feeder, right? It's a feed item, right? It could be vegetables, it could be frozen rat, it could be anything. So we're doing a lot of that kind of language too.
That's nice.
And it is multilingual. And if anybody has an issue with some of the language issues, let us know.
Yes, I do know. I don't know if they're watching, but we've had asks for new languages we didn't have in Classic, and those are or will be available for Next. If we're missing something, we can get it added for you.
You know what? And that's one of the beautiful things about AI these days. We could probably get a new language pseudo put in place in a day. So if there's a language that's because we would just replace the language file that we have with the language that you use. And really that's just that's AI can do that whole, translation for us. So if you have a language that you'd like, or if you see a language that we've really butchered, we'll run it through AI again. Or if there's specific words that wouldn't normally be used and AI is butchering those, just let us know, because we don't know all these languages at the end of the day. I know English and barely.
I just want to tell anybody who's watching, go check out our Facebook group, Husbandry Pro Facebook group. If you're not there already, we do take a lot of feedback from there, and that's actively monitored. So, if you've got feedback that you didn't want to drop or wasn't specific questions, you can do it there as well. Or if you have questions in between, a lot of our users are there and we monitor it also. And we also have a free 30-day trial for anyone who hasn't checked it out yet. Can they sign it? Can they do a free 30-day trial on Next now?
Yep. Oh yeah. Yep.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Same
Even
thing.
even the free trial, it's no longer locked down to just paid users anymore. You can start out on Husbandry Pro. I've actually gone through the onboarding. It's very nice. It's very robust, much more robust than the classic onboarding, and I think people are going to be very pleased with it. And if you skipped it and you have a lot of questions, I strongly encourage you. There's a button on your dashboard to reset that tour. I would go back and I would do it. It's very, very informative.
Absolutely. And one last thing, Zach, we are going to be in Daytona next month, right?
Yes, we will be in Daytona for the National Reptile Breeders Expo, and that will be on the 14th, 15th, and 16th. We will be set up all 3 days there. We are in the main room in the back corner right outside the ladies' room. We will be there with swag, and we will be doing live demonstrations. This lovely young man below me or above me, depending on where he's at on your screen, will be there answering all questions. And
Every question.
So many questions. But come on out, stop by and visit, grab you some swag while you're out there, and show us some love and some support. Bring your questions or comments, concerns, and we'll see everybody in Daytona at the next event. We are also confirmed for the Canadian Reptile Breeders Expo. It'll be our first time in Canada for our Canadian users who have been waiting to see us. We are going to be there. And if you're in the northern part of the United States, have a nice hop, skip, drive on up and come visit us in Canada at the Canadian Reptile Breeders Expo as well.
In where? Toronto, Mississauga.
Toronto?
Well, it's Mississauga technically, but yeah, it's Toronto. Toronto Reptile. You said Guelph, right? Why'd you think it was Guelph? That's weird.
Canada?
Oh, I know why. Never mind. I know why. It's where the owner lives.
But it's in Ontario, right?
And then, yeah, it's all in Ontario. And then we've got Tinley after that, right?
Yes. And then after that, we will be at Tinley Park as well, in our usual spot in the lobby. And so you'll get lots of love with us, lots of FaceTime with us. We've got a new setup, new vibe. Everyone will be happy to see the new booth set up. Come out and check it out. And we'll be talking about Next and all that good jazz. Awesome. Robert, do you have anything else?
I have nothing. I just, I want to thank everybody for giving us a shot, sticking with us. Love the feedback, and would love to have more. It's kind of where we're at right now, is like, just give us feedback.
We're planning the next one of these for 2 weeks. And as long as we keep getting good feedback and participation and good questions, we'll come in here and keep doing them.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Till next time.